Good morning, y'all. Week number 2. We're going to do some budgeting techniques and kind of explain the basics behind it. A couple things to think about when you think about writing a budget, right? It's something that a lot of folks probably have an opportunity with doing. So a budget is simply money in versus money out, right? So what you make versus what you spend, what you make, including what you spend and what you save. Purpose of a budget is to ensure that, first of all, you're not spending money you're not aware of. Second of all, that you're conscious of what you are spending. Third of all, frankly, you can make an impact on the amount of money you have available to you. Or any goals you may be trying to accomplish from a financial perspective, school perspective, car, bills, freedom, whatever the case may be. So a couple basics to think about. When you first start out with a budget, you're really just putting pen to paper what you make versus what you owe, what you spend, and the obligations you have, right? So we'll go over an example here in just a second. But 3 things to think about when you're writing a budget. Paycheck to paycheck. When you hear folks say they're living paycheck to paycheck, typically it's that they're spending as much as they make, right? That's okay. In a perfect world, you're able to save some, which will allow you to save for retirement or other things that you want in life. So number 1, paycheck to paycheck is spending what you make, not saving any more, hopefully not spending any more than what you make. If you're net positive, so number 2, net positive is our goal, meaning you come out with a little bit extra each week, every 2 weeks, every month, depending on your pay schedule. Number 3 is that net negative equals debt. It means that you're behind on your bills. It means that you owe someone money. It means that you're potentially digging yourself a hole because you're not making as much as you owe or as much as you need to spend on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis. Hang tight. We're going to go over an example of a simple budget and we'll wrap this thing up. Alrighty, folks, we're back with a real-life example of a basic budget. This is assumptive, utilizing some baseline examples. We're going to assume somebody works full-time, $15 an hour, 40 hours a week, 4 weeks a month. That's going to be $2,400 a month. For easy math, and just for the purpose of this example, we're going to take out $400 in taxes. Should be close to accurate, but it's going to depend on where you live and some other things that are specific to each individual. That's going to leave us with a $2,000 monthly income. And once again, this is just some examples of how you may write a budget. You're going to carve out your greatest expenses to your smallest expenses and essentially have a plan for the month, okay? Now, some unexpected expenses may arise, which is why we're going to leave a little bit of money at the end in a perfect world. We'll talk about some other examples here in a second. We're going to say a $750 rent. It could be less if you have roommates, could be more depending on where you live, but we're going to assume a $750 rent. We're going to assume $250 for a car payment, $200 for groceries, $100 for insurance, $75 for a phone bill, $75 for entertainment, $50 for dining out. Once again, there could be some specific bills or obligations that you have depending on your circumstance. That could be gym, that could be medical, that could be membership, school, whatever the case may be. That would leave $500 remaining. We're going to assume in this specific instance that this individual puts $250 in savings, maybe leaves $250 in their account available for miscellaneous expenses. They could allocate more towards savings. It could be towards school, or whatever the case may be. So with that being said, this $250, if it's not all spent each month, this fund money could slowly accumulate in your account, helping you in the case of an emergency, or maybe you have a big purchase that you'd like to save up for, a better car, a computer, whatever the case may be. But ultimately gives you a good starting point. It can get a lot more intricate as you begin to rack up expenses. And I'm going to pause for a second, step away from this example, and talk about a couple more things as we wrap up this budgeting video. All right, folks, we're wrapping up budgeting week number 2. We're going to do 401ks. Next week, we're going to do what is a 401k. But as we wrap this up, just a reminder, this is not financial advice. This is not investment advice. This is not me telling you exactly what you should do. Hopefully gives you a starting point, encourages you to look a little bit deeper into what budgeting is and what it can do for you. The definition of a budget is incoming funds, incoming income, so to speak, versus outgoing obligations, bills, expenditures, whatever the case may be. A budget's beneficial whether you're making minimum wage whether you're making $200,000 a year, right? You have to know where your money's going, what you're doing with it. Otherwise, you're always going to be working. You're always going to have bills to pay and you'll never be able to get ahead. Ultimately, the goal is to have a little bit of money left over each month, no matter how much you make or how much you owe, so that you can be in charge of your freedom, what you do with your free time, the things you buy, the things you save for, and the things that you earn, right? So with that being said, there's a couple things to think about. If you're doing your budget for the first time, it's the first time you've put pen to paper and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm making less than I spend. Well, that's a problem, right? It's ultimately not sustainable. So a couple things to think about. How do you find additional income? You could potentially pick up some more hours at work. Let's say you picked up 8 hours of overtime at $15 an hour. That's 8 hours at $22.50 an hour. If you did that once a week, that gives you an extra $400 or $500 a month to play with, right? Does that put you in the positive? Does that allow you to save for a car? Does that allow you to save or pay your existing bills, right? You could potentially seek additional opportunity, whether that's at work or outside of work, side hustle, something you're passionate about, another gig, part-time with a friend, family friend, whatever the case may be. Potentially sell some things around the house, make a few hundred extra bucks and get yourself caught up, right? Just something to think about. Remember, budgeting does a couple things, right? It's not meant to stress you out. It's meant to alleviate stress. So if you can give yourself time back, if you can save some money, if you can realize that sometimes we spend money we don't realize we don't have, or that we don't necessarily need to spend, right? Last but not least, remember, we work for things outside of just getting by. So whether you're saving for something you enjoy, something that you want to enjoy, putting pen to paper can help you plan for it, can maybe even encourage you to pick up some extra hours at work or take some additional responsibility so that you can quickly earn what you're looking for, right? So you can't manage what you don't measure. I think that's an important thing to remember. And writing yourself a personal budget allows you to do so. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, comment below, and I'll see you guys next week for what is a 401k. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.